Mafia City, Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. We go now to our reporter on the ground, Michael McMichaelton.
Well, the situation here is still tense, with several crooks still on the loose after they seemingly got bored. One hitman was quoted as saying there weren't enough things to steal. Truly terrifying times. I spoke to one of the local store holders earlier who had this to say.
Oh yes, things very bad. Me and my brother have been robbed of thousands of dollars. All our life savings gone. Tragedy.
And it's not just the local store holders who've been affected by this crime spree. In fact, another small business, Money Generation Inc., were completely bankrupted after thieves gained access to their secret money generation pads down this back alleyway. So, citizens here are certainly becoming more weary. The question is, what next? And when will the thieves strike again?
So what next is obviously the question. The game is clearly in need of some extra features. The game may be technically available to play, but there's pretty much nothing to do here. It desperately needs some mechanics. But what should I add? I could add some guns, but I don't want it to be just a common shooter. Maybe I could expand the size of the map, but that seems like a lot of work. Maybe I could add some cars to drive, but then I'd need a bigger map for you to be able to drive around in. I know what we need. Trains! Are they going to be a core element of the game? No. Are they featured in any of the adverts? No. So why do we need them? Because trains. They must exist. And I already built the track right in the middle of my map, so I basically have to at this point anyway. Now, I wasn't exactly sure what the best way to go about this was, so I started playing about in Studio with a few ideas. My initial thought was maybe I could create a bunch of waypoint nodes all the way around the track, and then I could tween the position of the train to each of the nodes' positions. This kind of worked, but you can see it doesn't really look natural at all, as it can't really corner properly. When you look closely, you can see that part of the train is actually shifting outside of the track as it corners, because it's only focusing on the central position rather than its entire body. Clearly, this method isn't going to work very well, especially if we want to chain multiple cars together. Although, just for curiosity's sake, I did wonder what it would look like if I added a second one. So I used a rope constraint to attach another unanchored train behind it, and it's not a good idea. Just imagine being stood here, watching the train, and suddenly impending doom comes upon you. So to look for a bit of inspiration in how to do things properly, I had a look around for some various implementations of train mechanics. I found Rails Unlimited, which seems like a pretty well-made game, and their trains certainly seem a huge deal safer than mine, even if my driving skills are perhaps questionable. So while Rails Unlimited was pretty fun, it didn't really help me figure out how to make my own. But then I did happen to see Roblox has a Western template which actually features a train, so I went to check that out. And theirs seems to run pretty nicely. It handles the corners without any problem. I should also add that this is the first time I've ever looked at the Western template, and somebody has actually put a lot of work into this, so definitely well done there. It deserves a bit more love. Anyway, the good thing about this being one of Roblox's templates is I could have a look inside and see how it all works. Interestingly, the wheels on this are actually fake ones, with the real ones being these spheres which we can make visible and see. And apparently the reason for do this is something with the physics calculating it more smoothly. I don't know, but it seems to work. And if we look underneath the train, we can see it also has these glider parts, which ensure that the train can't move outside of its rails. Okay, field trip over, time to put some ideas into action. Introducing my train. Okay, so it's not really a train yet, or any recognisable vehicle ever, but it does have the weird spherical wheel things, and it moves, so it's a start. Next, I welded on some cylinder parts to help it glide along the tracks. I wonder where I got that idea from. And it does indeed work. Next test is going around the corner, so I just needed to knock up a quick curved track. This was surprisingly harder than I thought it would be. So in the end, I bailed and used the track from the toolbox for the time being. That's a lot easier. And look, we're now cornering. Awesome. So I duplicated our little train fella, tried the rope trick again, and it actually works now. There's something very satisfying about watching a little train going around a tiny little track. Starting to remind me of those wooden train sets you get, if anyone remembers them. So I couldn't help but colour it appropriately to match what I had in mind, and it actually starts to look pretty nice. Ah, a beautiful working train. I could watch this all day. Hold up, weren't we supposed to be making a game about the Mafia? I suppose we'll have to make it blend into our crime-infested streets a little bit better. Because as glorious as this is, we should probably make it look a bit more like a train for grown-ups. Bring on the time-lapse. So I started off giving it a bit of an undercarriage and some of those fake wheels because we'll be hiding the weird globy wheels eventually. I do my usual trick of using the crook mold to help me give a bit of scale, although it's not too important as I'm not actually planning on having the characters interact with the train itself. At least not for the moment anyway. This also means I can afford to be a little bit lazy with some of the construction and just use reflective parts as windows rather than having to do anything fancy and go to the effort of making an actual interior. Sticking with the Liberty City-esque vibe, I was using the GTA 4 subway train you can see here as a kind of style guide, which is of itself obviously based on the New York subway. Again, being a bit lazy here, didn't bother creating a proper driver's cab or anything, so instead there's just these kind of doors or windows, maybe both, whatever they are, and copied the same mold to each section of the train. Who knows, maybe the whole subway is just automated anyway. Either way, I think it came out pretty good. Now let's see some sweet cinematography to take this beauty into action. Finally, we just need to add that special touch. I really wanted to find a good sound effect to use to bring it to life, so I usually check out freesound.org for this, and sure enough, they did not disappoint. I found this fantastic sound and added it to the train for that bit of extra spice. Damn, you sounding fine. But before I could revel in the sweet sound of my rattling train, we had an emergency. Somebody has stolen our hitman's shirt. There truly is no honour among thieves. Actually, this is just one of the consequences of taking random items from the catalogue, as you never know when something might get the dreaded content deleted. Although, if anyone watching this is any good at making clothes, then let me know and maybe you can have yourself some work. But for now, I just grabbed another similar shirt from the catalogue and was done with it. So, continuing to try and add a bit more life to the city, I decided it was time for some NPCs. I set them up so they'll just walk to random locations on the street, which can make for some odd movements about the place, but for now it certainly looks a lot better than just moving in a straight line. Unlike the train though, these NPCs aren't just for aesthetics. If you click on them, you can actually try and interact with them. In fact, I'm going to go and make friends with one of them right now. I'll just casually approach and hit the chat option. Hey, how you doing? Well, that was rude. Maybe he was just busy. I'll try this guy instead. You've left me no choice. Option 2 it is then. That'll teach you not to engage in my small talk. At this point, now we have a few more characters in the city, I thought it would be nice to have a bit more consistency and actually give everybody one of the billboard GUIs above their head to display a name and level. So the guy and girl NPCs became level 1s, and the store holder gets a promotion to level 15. For this to actually make sense, I added in the possibility of a fail state each time you try to rob the store. Eventually, I think I'd like to add some police into the game, but that would be a whole other thing, so I'll leave that for now. Currently, the system works so that you have a 50% chance of success if you're the same level as the thing you're trying to rob, and then it scales both up and down from that point, to the point where you're either guaranteed to fail if your level is too low, or it might just be like a 1 in 100 chance to actually mess up if your level is high enough. With these new fail states introduced, I made a new animation to the store holders, so they'll try to pull a shotgun on you when you fail, along with an angry grunt and exclamation marker that won't go away until the cooldown has passed and you can try again. For our walking guy and gal, you'll find they just run away screaming like a banshee in a wild panic. Is it bad that I find this aspect the most entertaining part? I almost don't want to successfully pickpocket them. Okay, so, review time. Have we remade Mafia City yet? Well, not quite. But we have successfully expanded the franchise of the bullying experience to the average citizen. So now everyone can share in the collective misery of Mafia City!
Yay!
And we've supplied them with a noisy train to rattle above their heads every minute of every day. You're welcome.